Welcome everyone to our new episode of What's New in Dynatrace Observability Clinic series. We have Kale today. He will be talking about the new platform features introduced in version 285. Hi Kale, it's good to see you again. How are you doing?
Hi Berkan, good to see you as well. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm fine. How about you?
Did you already miss our sessions?
Yeah, I did, of course.
Or is like a mandatory for you? Okay, it's good to hear that.
I love it and appreciate it to be here.
That's good. Then as far as I see that we have a short agenda today, can you please move on to the next slide so we can see the items? Okay, that's perfect. So first, we have got our playground tenants, which any Dynatrace user can use it as a demo resource. And the next, following that, Kale will be covering the platform features released in this version 285. Lastly, we will be highlighting our feedback channels and resources, as always, where you can find more detailed information. So that's the brief agenda for today. Next slide, please. If you are new to Dynatrace and like to use our demo environment, you just need to sign up for a trial through this QR code or this URL, as you see top left of the page. If you already have an account, feel free to explore the tenant through this link again. And please take a look at our GitHub page for lots of tutorials and hands-on training materials, which might help you get familiar with our platform. Next slide, please. So this is the, again, brief overview of the features that we are going to talk today. I think this now on your side, Kale. So
Yeah, thank you, Berkan, for the introduction. So as mentioned, we'll discuss the new features for the version 1.285. We'll start with the announcement section. So for the synthetic monitoring, please be aware that we have some minor location changes. So with end of March, the Alibaba Sydney and Alibaba Mumbai locations for the synthetic monitors will be discontinued. So we recommend that you reassign your monitors to alternative locations. If you don't do this, it will be automatically assigned by Dynatrace. Next announcement. Yeah, we have the new log configuration now globally enabled for all the tenants. So all of the tenants, including yours, if it wasn't the case before, was migrated to the latest log monitoring configuration page. So instead of log sources and storage, you will see log ingest rules. Instead of log custom log source configuration, you'll see custom log source. And on top, we added sensitive data masking. So as you can see here in this screenshot, log monitoring settings, there are 3 new entries. And with this, you will have more flexibility, more granularity to configure which logs you want to store at Dynatrace, which logs you want to ingest, as well as the sensitive data masking. But let us look into how this looks like in the environment. So for this, let us start with the synthetic perspective. So when you are inside your synthetic monitors, and when you look into the frequency and location section, so under synthetic, your specific synthetic monitor, settings, frequency, and locations, when you scroll down a bit, you can filter by different properties, including the cloud provider. So we pre-filtered it for Alibaba. And with a small browser tool, Control F, you can just look for deprecated, and you will see right away that Mumbai and Sydney are deprecated. So with end of March, if you don't reassign those locations yourself, Dynatrace will reassign it for you.
Kale, is it possible to find the related synthetic tests by filtering the locations in browser monitor lists?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It should be possible. Let us just try this out for a second. So we'll go to synthetic, and then we can...
On the left side, we can see it, I guess, and also from the filtered by, we can apply the location filter directly. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good mention, Berkan. Yeah, so for those managing tens, hundreds of synthetics, what Berkan just mentioned, that's the way to go. I think it should also be possible to do it by monitored location here. So you can check for either Mumbai or Sydney, Alibaba, and get those synthetic monitors. Awesome. Thank you, Beckham.
Okay, looks good. Anytime.
Yeah, and then the second topic that we had is the that the new log configuration is now enabled. So instead of as I mentioned, having log sources and storage, you now have log ingest rules under settings log monitoring. And basically, this is now how it looks like. So instead of having the host and process group perspective, you now have a highly granular configuration possibility to define which logs to exclude, which logs to include, highly granular. So when we, for example, click on this add rule button, you will see when you want to include something in the storage, you have many different matches that you can use, like the log record level. So say you want to exclude all debug logs, they're not critical. You can do so globally or just try a specific Kubernetes container or namespace. You can even match on the log content, so you can see already it's not something that you would do on the host or process group level, but something that is much more granular, and that gives you then a really good grip when you want to configure log monitoring. One more perspective to mention here, when we go back into this rules configuration, you can see that those rules that you have here enabled in this case, you can switch the order. So that's not just for the fun, but it has the specific logic behind it. So we recommend that you put the more specific log ingest rules at the top, because let's say you have something that is not specific at all, like ingest all logs. So when you put it at the top, it will not consider all those specific log rules at all, because it works like a filter. So you have logs incoming into Dynatrace, and it sees this first rule, it says ingest all logs, and it's like, okay, let me ingest it. But let's say you want to exclude some specific logs. Let's say you want to exclude the debug log. In this case, you really have to ensure that the more specific a rule is, the more you put it at the top. So those that are not specific at all, you can just put at the bottom, and then you will have log ingest rules that will produce the output that you expect and that you wish for.
Okay.
All right. Then we have the custom log sources. So that's basically for those logs that are not automatically sent to Dynatrace, for those logs that are not classified as important, for example, or from Windows event logs and so on. You can define rules. You still want to have those logs inside Dynatrace. So this is the place for you to go to achieve this use case. Last but not least, let's look into sensitive data masking. So GDPR, huge topic for us at Dynatrace, and of course for our customers, for the Dynatrace users. So you now have specific built-in rules that if you look into the details, so for any log that comes in, it will use a regex to identify the emails and to mask them so that you stay GDPR compliant. So you already have those rules out of the box that you can use for those different use cases. But of course, we give you the means to add your own rules. So if you have some company-specific critical data that you want to mask, you can add the rule here. Again, really have this possibility to do it on the content level, so it's highly granular. You really have the means to configure at the highest granularity what data you want to mask, and you can combine this also with specific conditions for which Kubernetes namespace, for example, you want to configure it, for which log source, and any other dimensions that you can find here in this configuration UI.
As far as I see, it's exactly the same logic that we have with one agent side masking preferences. And we talked about this, I guess, in version 281. I was just checking my notes. And this the main logic here is that doing this masking on the server side and on the agent side, not sending to our Dynatrace server. So this is the most important part. And I think it's pretty important as also for the users.
Yes, exactly. So what Beckham mentioned, super critical, where does this masking happen? So yeah, it's done on the one agent, and no personal data is sent or stored on Dynatrace server. So there's nothing that you would leak to Dynatrace at all. So it's really happening at the source, this masking. So nothing to be concerned about with this data.
Sounds great.
All right. Then let us move on to the next section, which is the platform section. As almost with every release, we have new or updated DQL commands. We have a new command, it's called DDAP. What you can do with this command is super cool. So you have a list of values. Let's say you have a list of specific product IDs, and you want to have a list of unique product IDs. You can use the DDAP command to remove the duplicate from a list of records. So it's a really powerful command that you can use in so many use cases. You want, for example, have a list of services where you had problems with, so you would fetch a problem event and then use the DDAP command to have a list of unique service IDs where you had issues, for example. So just one or two use cases that I just mentioned, but of course this command is so powerful that you can think of many more use cases. Apart from this DDAP command, we have one updated DQL command, our already famous time series command. We added one parameter, it's called the shift. So the shift parameter, we'll look into it in a few moments, what this can help you with. Basically, it brings you some time series data from past time to compare it with the current time, for example, but we'll look into an example in a few moments. Then we have two new DQL functions. The first one is the count distinct approx. So it calculates the cardinality of unique values of a field based on a stochastic estimation. What does stochastic mean in this context, or in any context? It means it's not 100% precise, but it's a really good estimate already. So this also then explains why we have the second DQL function, the count distinct exact. So this gives you the precise measure of the cardinality of unique values of a field. So why we have both? Why shouldn't you use every time the count distinct exact? I will show you in a few moments in the demo as well in the notebook that you also have here in the slides. We've tried out here the link where you can just access this notebook and check for yourself. But basically with the count distinct exact, it's a much more expensive operation that you conduct. And it comes with limitations of up to 1 million records that you can count or analyze with this function. And anything that goes beyond this limitation, we recommend to use the count distinct approx function.
So it's solely performance reasons and budget reasons.
Yes, exactly, Berkan. It's a really performance-oriented which function you should use. So next feature, it's related to Java processes. So for those of you who are familiar with Java development, or at least running Java processes, Java code, you can specify with the Java command specific command line values that are here shown as -d option. And it can be a long list of arguments that you want to pass to the process that you want to execute. And if the list gets pretty long, there's a practice that you put this into a file that you can reference with this as a file name. And before it wasn't recognized by Dynatrace that you have all those different arguments there. And you may have some arguments that help you to split your processes into specific process groups. And when you use this add file name, it didn't work. But now we have this also enabled. And when you use this file name notation, the arguments will be recognized and you will have proper process instrumentation and grouping. So then last but not least, in the platform section, we have now the upgrade classic dashboard to dashboard app. So when you have classic dashboard with data explorer based tiles, and when those classic metrics that you use there have already metrics that associated with the classic metrics in Grail. You can now use this upgrade classic dashboard app and then use the classic dashboard that you had before in the new dashboard app to make use also of all those different new capabilities that are based on Grail that you didn't have before. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you. And I will show you also in a few moments in the demo. You can just go to your dashboard overview, select the dashboard that you want to upgrade. You can also open the dashboard, do it inside the dashboard. I will show you, and then you just upgrade it and check out the result of it. Let us now jump into this live demo of those features that I just mentioned. I will start from the beginning. So we started with the new DQL commands or the updated DQL commands. As usual, we'll share this link with you so that you can access this as well and play around. So let's start with the first command, the dedup command. So what does it do? It removes duplicates from a list of records. So we have here an easy example. I mentioned the use cases before that you can also think about, or any other use case relevant for your observability or your business. We have here a list of locations. So we have here Vienna, London, Vienna, London, Vienna. And let's say we want to check in which places, in which locations our customer today booked a hotel. Let's say we have a hotel chain. So we can simply run the dedup command with the field. So we're doing it on the field location, and voila, we have the two locations that our customers booked today. So we can say, okay, we had bookings in London and Vienna.
Do we get the booking value randomly here? Because I see that 4,564 in there. So there's no sorting mechanism applied.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's random. I think it's also mentioned here in the documentation. The original order of the records is not preserved.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, so the sequence is not here relevant. And if you want a particular order, you can use the sort parameter. It says here as well. Yeah.
Also, we have a specific channel. I think it's called Learning Dynatrace Query Language in our YouTube playlist.
Yeah,
where you can
exactly.
find step-by-step instructions and detailed information about all these concepts. So the dedup command is one of the topics covered also in the playlist videos. Maybe we can also include that link below this video description, so people can check this directly, or they can also find it in release notes that directly an example demo of this dedup command. That looks also pretty useful.
Yeah, that's helpful, Berkan. We should add that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, then let's go to the updated DQL command time series. We added the shift parameter to the time series command. So it's not straightforward to understand what it does by just reading, okay, shift. It means it's moving something, shift, yeah, makes sense. But let us look into one example to illustrate this time series command with the shift parameter. So let's look into a specific time series, into a metric called disk availability. So we can see on this specific host, we have a 14 gigabytes available in this time frame, 13th of March to 14th of March. So we have here 2 days shown, okay? And then we have the 2 previous days, so 11th and 12th as well. And we can see here that the disk availability changed from 13 gigabytes at a point in time to 14 gigabytes. So let's say you have now the use case, you have this metric, this time series data, and you want to compare it from the day 13th and 14th to the 2 days before, okay? So we can see in those 2 days that we now specified, we have 14 gigabytes. But we want to see what's the value 2 days before. So what's the value here? And we want to have it in one chart. So we can see here, okay, this is the time frame that we configured. We can see 14 gigabytes, as we saw above, and this is the shift that we introduced. So we said we want the data for those 2 days, but we also want the data from those 2 days before. So from 13 minus 2, 11th, to 14 minus 2, 12th. of March. And we can see this data here mapped to this time dimension, as we can see here. So we can see here this knick from 13 to 14, now shown here on this time frame. That happened basically 2 days before, 11th of March. And here it's happening on 13th of March. As we use this shift minus 2 days, it's now showing this data point on the 13th. We kind of fetch the data back from the past and put it into this specified time frame that we have here. So that's basically the shift command that allows you to compare to one time frame with previous data point of this metric.
So it's briefly the same expression that we have in the Explorer, and it can help you with the trend analysis or some prediction analysis, capacity planning, and so on, as far as I see.
Yeah. Yes, and we have this also documented. So if you have some cool use cases that you think about, just check out the documentation for that, and it will give you hints what else you can achieve. And as Berkan mentioned, the YouTube DQL video, check out if there's already a video about the shift command. I think that there are really some cool use cases that you can achieve with that. So go for it. All right, but then let's have a brief glance into the new DQL functions, the count distinct approx and the count distinct exact. I mentioned those two commands in the slides, and they're pretty straightforward. So basically, we kind of we calculate the cardinality of unique values. So really think that it's know that it's unique values of the field. So for this, I just counted the unique logs in the last hour with different precision parameters. So the higher the precision parameter, the higher the probability that you will be close to the correct number. So let's say the correct number is 100,000, and the higher the precision, the closer it will be in most cases. Of course, there can still be some deviations. It's stochastic, it's statistically calculated, but the higher the precision, when I run it now, the closer it should get to the actual value. What is the actual value? Let's find out with the count distinct exact. So let me run this command. The exact value is 351,991, and we can see the lowest precision, which we have here, is 385. So it has a big deviation from the correct value, and the closest or the highest precision has 352, which is pretty close to the correct number, and the default precision of 14, when you don't specify it, is a bit farther away from the closest number. So you can see here in this example, the higher the precision, the closer it will be in the most cases to the exact count. I mentioned limitations. So it's more expensive than this count distinct approx. So there are limitations. So you can't have more than 1 million distinct values to count for. So if it's above that, you will have to use this function. Okay. So when you can use this exact and you need it exactly, then go for it. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, great explanation. Thanks, Kader.
Thank you, Becca. All right, then let us go back now to the next section, which is application of observability. That's a short section for today. We have runtime metrics in Grail. So the one agent-based runtime metrics that you are familiar already with, the classic metrics, are now also available in Grail. You still can use the classic metrics, but you can also use the Grail metrics now to use them with the new dashboard app, for example, or the Notebooks app to do advanced DQL queries and so on. So really go for it. This is the future of Dynatrace, everything in Grail, and really make use of all the flexibility that you get with that. One prerequisite that you should think about is that you need the one agent version of 1.283 at least to collect those Grail metrics and send them to the Dynatrace servers. We have also a really exhaustive documentation and also migration guide if you want to migrate classic runtime metrics to the Grail metrics in terms of the usage. So when you've used the classic metrics and you want to use the Grail metrics now, we have also some migration guides because some metrics are a bit differently gathered, collected than they used to be collected with the classic metrics, as we will see in a few moments. So let me for that go back to the to my browser. We'll open the same notebook that we opened before. I'll just scroll down a bit to the application observability section, and there's an example for the runtime metrics in Grail, which is the total collection time of the garbage collection JVM based that you can filter for a specific process group instance, for example. As said, we have an exhaustive documentation that I just opened. I had it open as well before. But yeah, this basically shows you how you can map the classic metrics that you've used before with the metrics now in Grail, our new data lakehouse with huge scale and super high flexibility and so on. As said, more and more data will be moved in Grail. Grail is the future. You still have both, of course, also the classic metrics. But this documentation basically shows you what are the associated metrics when you compare to the classic. You'll find an E icon as well. So please be careful that some metrics are divergent, that you have to be careful how you use those metrics, as it may be a small deviation as the data, how it's represented, how it's collected, may be different in Grail. It's not for all the metrics, but for some metrics it may be different. And here the documentation will show you what you need to be aware of when doing the migration.
Also, if you go down a little bit in this documentation, Kalle, I
Yep.
believe that we have some explanations of those metrics. And here, if you just can please stop a little bit. Stop. Yes, perfect. So here, for example, Go-related metrics, I see that we added some filtering possibilities that if you go down a little bit more, exactly. And here that maybe the metric are now defined in a different way, but you will be able to still get those metrics by applying filtering conditions, as you see here. And in this case, for Go runtime metrics and .NET runtime metrics, but also that you will have some information about the unsupported metrics. So it's important to check your metric that here in this list, and if you see some unexpected behavior in any application that you use in Dynatrace. I think this will be the main two locations that for you to read in the documentation. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, Berkan, what you mentioned. It's a really beautiful example of how you see the classic metrics having, instead of two metrics, you now have one metric, and you can just filter for the failed or started auctions here for the Go metric. Awesome. Thank you, Berkan.
Thank you too.
All right. Then let us already jump into the next section. We are super fast today. It's about digital experience. Session replay recording without agent in top frame. Sounds complicated for those web developers or those that are familiar with web developing. There's something called in HTML, it's called iframe. So you can embed your website into another website. So please focus on this slide. We have here this, let's say we have our domain. We like to use easytravel.com. And our application, our website is embedded into another website. Can be some associate of us that also is in the travel space, doesn't matter. And our associate doesn't use Dynatrace yet. Going to use it soon, but he doesn't have an agent yet. But we have an agent, and our website is embedded in via the iframe. And we still want to have session replay for those users that visit our website, not directly, but via the associate's website. And for this, if we want to have it, we can now easily configure it in the specific Easy Travel application setting inside Dynatrace. So we would just add the SRIF equals 1, which means session replay iframe recording is active. And with that, we'll have session replay for this technical context as well. And I also want to demo it. It's nothing rocket science related. So we have here one easy to reference website. And when you have now your web application, your website that's embedded in such an iframe, and you want to have session replay, you go open this application inside your Dynatrace environment. You look for the three dots in the right corner. Now you go to edit, and here under the capturing settings, advanced setup, you will find this beautiful setting. It's called, oh, it's not advanced setup, but it's called custom configuration properties. My fault. Yeah, so I already configured it, but it's really easy to add. So just copy paste this information from the release note, add this custom configuration property, and save it, and that's all. When you save it, you'll have it here presented. And with that, you will achieve what we just mentioned, that you have the session replay here enabled as well.
Okay, sounds good.
And this brings us already to the end of today's YouTube release session. Yeah, feel free to ask questions and provide feedback in the Dynatrace community feedback channel. We're always happy to improve on our format, on the content. And if you have any questions, any remarks, please share them with us. We're really happy to engage with you via those channels. Please make use of the webinars inside Dynatrace University. And really, we have to put an emphasis on this. Use the live in-product chat assistant. We love to help you. We love to interact with you, to get to know your pain points, and we want to collaborate with you. And so please make use of it. From my side, this would be it. Berkan, let me give the final word to you.
Thank you very much, Kare, for the great explanation, and thank you again for your time. So I think that's all good on my end. Thank you, everyone, and wishing you a great day.